Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of the AUSNZ Community Podcast. How bloody exciting is that? My name's Aaron, but you all know me as GTR. Obviously that stands for Gran Turismo Racing. And yes, if you guessed it, you already know that it is my dream car, the famous Nissan GTR. That's enough about me. Let's get into it. Well, legends, we will be talking all things Hill Climb Racing 2, a little bit about Discord, team event discussion, and all the latest news within the AUSNZ and world communities. Each week on the show, we will welcome a special guest to the podcast, and you, the listeners, are welcome to ask the questions which we will be reading out to our guests. You can find the channel to our guests in the AUSNZ Discord server. And this week, as you all know by now, we do have one of the most popular players in the server here on our podcast. Of course, it's the one and only, the Mr. Robot himself, Mori. We're very excited to get talking to him, but that's a little later on. He'll be joining us very shortly. We'll also be discussing some controversial topics such as team resets, bans, which few have happened in the last couple of weeks, and I'm pretty sure more will happen in the future too. So that will be a bit of a controversial topic that we'll talk about, but I'm pretty sure the listeners will be keen to, listen to what we have to say about that as it happens. Of course, new updates looks like that's around the corner. Looks like there's a new vehicle coming out, which we're going to talk about that later as well. Other updates such as new tracks as they happen and so forth and so forth. However, we'll get to those a little later on. But right now, I want to thank you, listeners, for listening in. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our co-hosts to the first episode today. Our co-host is Pete, Alpha, and Eva, and a warm welcome to you all, and it's great to have you on the show. So let's start off with our first co-host, Pete. Welcome to the show, mate, and if you can, would you tell our listeners your past Hill Climb Racing 2 history, what roles you do in the server, and everything in between, mate. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Aaron, or GTR. So my name is AUSNZ Pete. But I've also got an alt account, which is Fury Spence. And that account is the current leader of AUSNZ 3, which are in Division 2. So they're a Division 2 team. And they're just plodding along rather nicely.
Beautiful.
But my origin story is I started off in a team called Oz Races, I think it was. And then I migrated with somebody who some of you might know, Muzz.
Yep.
He went to another team called, what was it? Down Underwear.
Yeah, of course. Now, when you said
Yep.
Oz Races, that wouldn't happen to be Oz Races that is currently, I think they're in Division 2. Is that Oz Races with Dees and Latana?
I think it is, but they weren't in it when I was part.
Okay, so this is going before then. Yeah.
This is a long time ago.
Right.
This is years ago, I'd say.
Right, okay.
So from Down Underwear, that was one of the original teams that started the merge to AUSNZ.
Yes, and we'll get to that a bit later on because there's lots to discuss there. Tell us some roles that you do in the server, mate.
Roles on Discord. So I've got a chief role, which is anyone who messes around, we just sort of tell them off, put them in the naughty corner, just tell them what to do, keep an eye on the server, make sure everything's running smoothly. And another role I've got is the recruitment officer, which anyone who comes into the server and wants to join a team, we just sort them out into the appropriate teams.
All right, so that basically means anyone that comes into the server, you'll message them and get them sorted into whatever team that's appropriate for them.
Yeah, so they come into their own little channel thread. So we create a new thread for each player that comes in, so it's nice and private. Everyone gets their privacy, so they can share details with them. And yeah, that's basically what the recruitment officers do.
Great. Fantastic, mate. Well, it's great. It's great to have you on the show. And it's great for you to be part of the podcast as co-host, mate. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to future episodes and talking more and all hill climb racing details. Be good.
Yeah, it'd be great.
All right, next I want to introduce to you is Alpha. Now, Alpha is one of our young stars in the server. He's a great young fellow, and with a lot of promise as well. He's a good young kid who's well on his rise in Team 1, and he's doing very, very well so far. Welcome, Alpha, to the podcast, and thanks for representing the young stars, mate.
Hello, and thank you, GTR. So my introduction. Hi everyone, I'm Alpha, and I represent the Young Stars crew in AUSNZ, as GTR said. I'm quite active on the server and most players know me. I'm in AUSNZ 1 and have 5,884 GP and growing quickly. I'm good at the Mark II, motocross and rally. I'm also the second best Moonlander player in Australia.
Won't argue with that at all. Definitely won't argue with the Moonlander part, mate. I know you're a bloody good Moonlander driver. You're certainly up there in the rankings, that's for sure, and especially with records as well, with local records. Mate, tell us some of the things that you do in the server, and especially tell us more about Young Stars.
So Young Stars was originally an idea to get all the best young talent from Australia in a team, but that didn't work out. So now it's basically just a chat to the team leaders and
okay, so
with Young Stars.
So with Young Stars, you guys, so you have your own channel in the AUSNZ Discord, and you guys, you talk strategies and you talk all things hill climb racing too.
Most of the time.
Yeah, most of the
Sometimes
time.
It just turns out into trash talk.
Yeah, yeah. No, we've got a few really good young kids in the server, and I have to say, the majority of us adults who overlook this, pretty responsible, and we do a good job with the young kids, and we look out for them, and they look out for each other, and it's working out really, really well at the moment, and got to be proud of that. So, Alpha, mate, thanks for joining in. Anytime you want to, to say something or make a comment or something, just chime in, and mate, it's great to have you on the podcast.
Yep, sure. Thanks, GTR.
We'll get back to you later, buddy. Our third and last, but definitely not least, is the man himself. He's got a lot of history to share with us in regards to Hill Climb Racing 2 and Hill Climb Racing 1 as well. Yes, that's right, listeners. He is a bit old, because he's been playing Hill Climb Racing 1 as well. But, we'll get to that a bit later on. Of course, I want to introduce to you Eva, AUSNZ Eva. Welcome to the show, mate. It is great to have you on the show.
Thanks, mate. Really good to be here. Welcome to both Alpha and Pete. It's great to hear the voices, and as much as I've already met Pete in person. I started probably a long time ago when HCR won, and I think I had about 3 restarts on HCR1 because I didn't save my progress and swap phones, and just started again and again and again. And HCR2 come out, I joined pretty much from its inception. And it was great to see the cups. The cups was a really, really big motivator to pick the game up every day, and then teams appeared, and and it was like, oh my god, teams and all that sort of stuff.
Now,
so
when teams came out, that was kind of a game changer, wasn't it? That's pretty much when the game went from one level and went to another new level above that, didn't it?
It did. It really did. It stepped up because, Adventure was great. Cups was really good. Got a bit boring if you played for more than an hour or so. And then teams really added another facet. It really broadened the appeal of the game and started a bit of camaraderie and rivalry, which was what the game was kind of needing to kick it along.
Yeah, well, we'll talk. It's interesting when you say that, because it really stepped up another level in regards to how serious players wanted to really take the game. From playing casual here and there. I'm assuming players were like, right, this is competition now. This is meaning something. We got to step up here. And
Yep, indeed. I suppose my role on the server, I'm one of the leaders, I suppose. I've got access to a fair bit of the server itself.
Yep.
But my role is more just stirrer. I jump in.
I wouldn't say stir. I was going to say more like a counselor type role. Do you know what I mean? You got the counselor that's on Star Trek is always giving advice to people, helping them out in the best way possible. I reckon you could be our official counselor. That's a pretty bloody good position.
Oh yeah, I'll do that too.
Hi to all our Trekkies out there, by the way, but that was just a bit of a Trek comment. But yeah, anyway, go on, mate. Sorry.
Always happy to lend a hand wherever I can. It's gotten me in trouble a couple of times because as Alpha is, Alpha's quite young. Not realising that I'm talking to someone who's quite young and go, wow, okay, that sounded really bad. But it wasn't. But it was. But it wasn't.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
no.
I really, really, really enjoy the community that is our Discord server. I'd like to commend all the members because, really, it's a community of people that all have a very similar interest.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we can, with 500-ish from what I've been hearing, 500-ish people that all get along and have a good laugh and help each other out, which is what I joined the community for. So it's good to be able to give back.
It's funny you say that because I'm part of a few other servers, and I have to say our server, the AUSNZ server. It's rare. It's rare that we find trouble in our server. Now that I've said that, people are going to bloody join and give us trouble. But you rarely get trouble in our server, and it's really good to be a part of. And yeah, no, you're 100% right there. Could not agree more. We'll get more onto Discord later, mate, because we've got a special guest that is going to be popping on very, very shortly. But before we get to that, let's have a little bit of chat about about the origins of AUSNZ and how it all began, and then we'll get our guest in, and of course we all know who it is. It's Mori, who is the Discord legend himself. We'll get him in and he can talk more about the origins as well. But Pete, you want to talk about how it started and go from there?
Yeah. So back when I was in Down Underwear, we were part of the teams set up, and we challenged this team called Woke, which was another Aussie team, and they had another Discord server the same as us. So some of our leaders joined their server, and some of theirs joined ours. And we just got along like a house on fire. And then somebody came up with the idea of a super Australian team. So we'd have the best of both teams and join it into one team, and then the bottom half of the other teams would be in the second. And so that's how AUSNZ started.
Right, so you started with two teams, is that right, mate? So two teams to first start off with?
Yeah, that's right. Started off as two teams. And I think there was talk of another team on Discord in the Fingersoft server, which I think was You Can't Beat Me, was talking to Muzz, I'm pretty sure. And he was part of, I can't remember what team he was part of now. That doesn't matter. Anyway, a few more Aussie racers came in and we had to form another team.
Yep.
Which was fantastic.
Yeah, Eva, I just want to extend on that. So we got a couple of international Aussies that were in international teams that came across, mate. You can just explain further and couple of
so I was on a restart team called Team Cats, which You Can't Beat Me was on. Creepers was on there, and a few other notable players as well. And then You Can't Beat Me was he started his own little server, and we all started to mingle around. The restart team got to a point where we'd gotten quite high, and then I think we had 53 wins in a row. And then we just everybody just went their separate ways because they wanted to be on another restart team to build their GP, which was all well and good, but I wanted to do a bit more competitive stuff because winning 3K, 3K events in a row, you get to a point where it gets a bit boring.
Well, yeah, I mean, getting max rewards for that many wins, that's it would have definitely boosted the GP quite a bit. That's for sure.
It did help my GP. Don't get me wrong, and it taught us a lot. It taught me a lot on how to play the game. But yeah, from there, You Can't Beat Me messaged me and said, "Hey, we're starting this team, this Australian team. I reckon you should be on it." So here I am.
Kind of like a super team to get the best players in Australia together, get them into a marriage of some type, and get them working together as a team. Sounded like a pretty good plan. And of course, I think Cam and Zeki came out of Stars and Stripes, so SS1, and that would have made the team very, very strong. So Zeki and Cam coming out of that, along with Creepers as well, to create AUSNZ 1 and AUSNZ 2. So that was very, very good. So just further on to the origins of AUSNZ, so we got this team together, all these players came into the server, and then basically 2 teams were made, and I believe it didn't take very long at all, Pete and Eva, to really, make a run at the top 100, did it?
No, not at all. Yeah, the top team, they were winning quite easily at the start, and they kept on winning, and they got all the way up to, I think their highest was 36th in the world. I thought it was 34 or 36, but yeah, up there.
34 or 36, well, whichever one it would have been, is an outstanding effort considering the the strength of how many teams are in the top 100. That's quite an incredible achievement.
Yeah.
It was ranked 32 at the commencement of leagues.
There you go.
There you go.
Thanks, Alfie. Yeah, so ranked 32 at the commencement of leagues. So that's unbelievable. And Pete, you were the leader of the AUSNZ 2 team at the start.
Yes. So when it first started, the leader and also the co-leader of Down Underwear, which was Luigi was the leader and Muzz was co-leader, they both went into the first team. And I sort of got asked if I wanted to become the first leader, which I've never had a leadership role, and I was super excited to do it. So I was the leader of AUSNZ 2 for the first 3 or 4 months or so, until Muzz came back and I asked him if he wanted to take it back over again because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was a leader at the start, and it was actually really good fun being the leader of the team, just trying to get everyone ramped up, trying to better their scores, things like that.
Yeah, that's mate, that's to see where we were, when this team first started, to see where we are now. It's quite incredible. As you guys said, 500 players in the server, 9 teams, 1 team in the CC division, 1 team in Division 1. Is, if you think about the number of communities out there, not many of them would have 9 teams in a community. It is quite impressive, I have to say.
Yeah, definitely is.
All right, what do you reckon, guys? I reckon we should get our guest in and talk a bit more on it, and he can share some light on everything as well. What do you reckon?
I think that's a good
sounds like
idea.
a perfect idea.
Well, let's do it, guys. All right. I give you no further ado, no more waiting. Here he is, the man himself, Mr. Discord, the bot man himself, AUSNZ Mori. Mate, welcome to the podcast, and thanks so much for being the first guest of the AUSNZ podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm actually really honoured to be in the first podcast. I wasn't looking for it, but some of the things I think you're going to have to tone it down a bit. Legend. I don't think that highly of myself. But it's really good. Like, I mean, you were saying before, I think it was Eva saying about the community and what the AUSNZ server is about. Like, this is part of it. I mean, some of the stuff we do in there, there's, you've touched on a little bit about the young stars. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in there, like the roster racing and, all the social channels and stuff. Like, we have people who come in who don't even really, get involved with the team, but are there chatting on the server. So it's quite a unique thing, as you said.
Brings everybody together, doesn't it? Brings everyone together, and we all we're all friends as one. It's quite incredible.
Yeah. I mean, the server's actually taken on a life of its own in terms of some of the stuff it's done. We've actually had some pretty touching stories about people looking for help, and people have been there to help them through really tough times. Which is, for when you think of a little game, you don't think of that. You don't think of a community there to help people, but it actually has done that. So it's very unique, I think. There's not too many servers where I'm on, which have that sort of community. So it's good.
You got to be very proud of that, don't you, mate? Because you were one of the originals. You came across from Woke. Is that right, mate?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I was on Woke. I started, my kids were playing, and they said, "Oh, Dad, there's this game we're playing, you might enjoy it." And I went, "Oh, okay, let's have a look." And, so I started, and we used to challenge each other and send each other challenges, and soon
That's exactly what I do.
Yes, soon I started beating them, and then they lost interest because they realised that Dad's really competitive and doesn't like, doing anything by half. And, and it was just playing it. It was a good little game, and I was actually almost about to give it up. And then teams started, and thankfully teams started, and I looked at a couple of teams, and I was like, I want to join an Australian team. I don't want to join just any old team. And then I looked, and there was only one team there at the time, which was Woke, or it was the first team that I found, I think. And so I joined that, and they actually got to, I think it was like 10th in the world globally. It was mostly because they were the first teams to start. So they were the first Aussie team. And and thankfully, because the chat was so crap, and it was really bad then, it was, like, it's not fantastic now, but it's a lot better than what it was. Like, you couldn't type anything, or you couldn't change what you typed, so you had to type something, and then it either had to be right or you just have to put up with it. And so because of that, someone suggested using Discord, and so I went, oh, okay, I've never heard of this thing, Discord. I don't know what it is, but I'll give it a go, and I did.
You're actually professional at it.
I actually think most of us were like that, though. I think when we all joined, none of us used Discord beforehand. Yeah.
Nah, that's right. I mean, I
heard of it.
Didn't know what it was. My son was like, "Oh, it's a gamers thing, Dad," and I'm like, "What?" Okay, whatever. I'll use it. And so I started using it, and then joined the server, and didn't really chat much because I was like, "Oh, I wasn't. It's just a little game. I hadn't been thinking about getting that involved in it." But at some point, I think I did start using it a lot more because I was promoted to one of the leaders at a time within Woke, and I think that was mostly just because I was so active at the start. And then went along with that for a while, and then, as you already touched on, the whole merging thing. But I mean, at that time, I mean, pretty much every team was merging with some other team. There was constant mergers happening, and Woke was actually in the midst of talking to, I think, 2 different teams at the time, maybe 3. Like, there were so many conversations going on; it was hard to keep track of.
Wow.
And then You Can't Beat Me started up a server, and he invited a whole bunch of people, and I was actually the 12th person to join. I went through and had a look when you asked me. I was the 12th person to join, and I joined, was it 2.5 or 2 hours, bit after 2 hours after it first started. And because by that stage the bot had been running on the daily server, it was also on a couple of other servers that it was running. And
Which what's that one? Sorry.
That's the daily bot. So that's the daily bot. I actually started that in Woke in the server, and
so you made it.
I made it because we were starting we had a Polish guy, a couple of Polish people in our server. I actually don't know how they joined our server, but they did. And they were telling us about this daily competition they run, where they use they just run in the order of vehicles and just use the daily race and have a competition. And I thought that was good, but it didn't interest me at the time because it was just one day at a time. Like they hadn't spoken about recording it or anything. And then I thought, actually, we'll do this and we'll do it with a spreadsheet. So I started with the spreadsheet, and then I found that took me too long to update. So then I thought, well, maybe if I can do something to make it easier. And luckily my background is IT and programming and such. And so I had a bit of an investigate and went, I think I can do this. And I started with the first bot, which allows you to enter results from Discord into a spreadsheet.
Impressive.
And so then
I always thought you did have an IT background, because I think I've come to your you've come to my aid for some help. I've always appreciated your help over the last couple of years, mate, because you've definitely got a bit of an background in IT. Talk to us about that if you want as well.
Yeah, luckily it's support, so it's coding and all sorts of stuff, but it's support, which is why I've got the patience when people ask me for help. But I don't mind that at all. So I started that and got the bot going. Actually, it was because of the reason for the bot was the first Fingersoft Grand Prix, the one they had. So I went in that and I came out of that and I was all inspired, and I was like, I was talking to Valk. Oh, sorry, no, I wasn't talking to Valk. I messaged Valk to say, look, I can see what you're doing, and there were so many people complaining that things weren't going well and stuff, and I was like, look, I can see what you're doing, and I can see it's really hard. Look, I've got a bit of an IT background. I think I can help here.
Yep.
I don't know how I can help, but I think I can help. Would you like help? Anyway, didn't get a response, and didn't get any, but I wasn't expecting anything because they were doing so much to try and get the results out and make sure they were correct and everything, and so I didn't expect anything. But then after a couple of months, when things died down from the Fingersoft GP, I then reached out again, and and then that's where I got involved in the second one. But before that, I then went away and sort of went, well, actually, taking what they did, I think I can write a bot that can do this. So I started and made the bot so it connects up to the spreadsheets and can update results in the spreadsheet and allows you to report.
You coded the bot from scratch. You made it from scratch and got it to join various servers, and you can also go into there's another server that you also run, which is the national Discord bot server. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's called the HRC2 daily bot. It's basically the results go into there. But initially it was on one server, and then the Polish guys were like, "Oh, look, could we add it to our server?" And I went, "Oh, I don't know. I hadn't really thought of that. I just wanted to do it for my own team to get them more involved." Because you guys know that as soon as you get involved with the dailies, for some reason, the amount of Ks that your team does just jumps dramatically. And that's what happened. And so the Polish guys were asking that. And I thought, well, actually, how do I make this work for multiple servers? So then I started playing around a bit more, and after a couple of weeks, I figured it out and got it to join their server. And as a treat, I've actually made it so you can do translations. So if ever you hop onto the Polish one, you will not, unless of course you speak Polish, you won't understand a word of it because it's all in Polish.
That's
except
incredible.
for the commands.
That's so you can code it for different languages right around the world.
Well, they can translate them.
Yeah.
So I'm just in the process of making it so that whoever's an admin on the server can actually manage the translations themselves.
Quite incredible, mate. Guys, our co-host, you guys want to go for it. Ask Mori any you want now if you want, guys. You want to shout him a couple of questions?
I'll just jump in. My first question: AUSNZ Mori is commonly mispronounced as Mori.
Yes.
What made you come up with the name Mori?
Well, it's actually because my name's Lawrence, but my mum hates the name Laurie, like absolutely hates it. One of my friends was calling me that at school, and I said, well, I can't have that. I did want a nickname, like every kid wants a nickname.
Yeah, and names are important through school.
Yeah, and of course, but I didn't want Laurie to stick, so I went, well, if I take the first letter of my last name and put it on the front, and then it becomes Mori, then that'll do. And that stuck. That actually stuck, and people started calling me that, and I was like, whew, dodged the bullet there.
Been with you since high school.
Yeah, it's been with me. So some people still call me that. Some of my oldest friends still call me that, which is actually funny because my kids, when they first heard it, they were like, "Who's Mori? I don't understand who this Mori is." And I was like, "Oh, it's me."
Wow, so it's stuck around for all these years, mate. That's
I started using it as like
sound old, GTR.
What's that, mate?
You made him sound old then, speaking with you for so many years.
Well, I'm probably the oldest one here.
I actually didn't really mean to do that. My apologies, by the way. But I just
older than Alpha.
Yeah. Well, Mori did mention kids and stuff, so I just figured he's been around all this time, and anyway, great question, Pete. Eva, you got anything you want to ask Mori? Anything?
Well, mine's a bit personal, but I'm going to shoot from the hip. Which is your favourite? Which is your favourite of the 9 movies?
Now, wait a second. Okay, the 9 movies. Now, what?
You don't even need to ask.
What are we talking about here? 9 movies.
Star Wars and New Hope. Star Wars and New Hope. You don't even need to be I've mentioned it enough to people in the server, and Eva actually had I met Eva at something I was doing in my BMX Nationals. And Eva walked up to me, and he had all his camera gear, and I was officialing, and he said, "Oh, hi, I'm Eva," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know. You've got all your camera gear. Oh, have you spoken to the organisers here about taking shots and stuff?" And he looked at me weird, and I'm like HRC2 was the furthest thing from my mind at the time, and I'd forgotten that I'd actually put in the server to let everyone know, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'll be at. If anyone wants to come and visit, they'll see some really good riding, and come and watch. And of course Eva showed up, and then he mentioned something about HRC2, and I went, "Eva, oh my God, that's Eva. Okay."
So that's.
I actually apologise to you for beating you the day before on the daily challenge.
It was something like that, and I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I'm like, that doesn't make sense for what I'm doing right now.
The look on your face was priceless.
Oh, mate. So that's your two loves in life, mate. Well, your three loves is hill climb racing too, of course, and Discord. But your other loves in life is Star Wars and what was the other one? Was it
BMX?
BMXs. So BMX, is that like indoor competitions or outdoor? Is that the ones that they do on the big tracks when they go right down the hill and stuff like that?
Yep, that's all of them. Wow. So anything bike riding. I mean, I grew up living with bikes in my room, much to my mum's disgust, and then my girlfriend, now wife, she was quite confused about why does a bike have to live in the bedroom. It's like, but that's where they live. Don't they live anywhere else? It seemed confusing to me.
Well, the normal household would probably put bikes in the garage. One would say, I would have to, I'd assume on.
Yeah, that was weird to me.
Oh, brilliant!
Now I'll ask you a real question. How many hours a day do you actually spend on the game, playing the game?
If you had asked me that a year ago, I reckon it was probably close to 25 hours. I was like, especially when the server started up. I mean, I think I almost lived on there. Like every ping that happened, every time there was an update to a channel, I was checking it and responding to it. And and the game was, that was hand in hand. And then, but now I'm a lot less. Like now I think I'm trying to find that balance of, the game and Discord and other things.
Yeah,
but it still does take up a bit.
Well, you did hold the number one ranking for the bot in the server for quite some time, but Pete's taken that role off you for a few months now.
Yeah, I think I was well ahead there, wasn't I? For a bit, I was quite a bit ahead, and then you started, and then it was just by that stage I'd started to cut back. Like now, I pretty much only respond to pings. Like I only really notice pings because I actually counted it just before I logged on. I hopped on. I'm on 38 servers, and the bot's on 20.
Wow, that is quite a lot of servers and quite a lot of pings you would probably get as well beforehand.
No, I've actually made it so I limit what I'm actually doing on there. So for the bot ones, I'm really only talking to the people who are the officials there, and helping them out and making sure the bot runs smoothly for them.
Yeah, right, fair enough. Alfie, mate, did you have any questions for Mori as well this evening?
Yes, I did. Building off the conversation earlier, did you think the daily bot would be so successful?
No, not really. Not when I started it. It was more just as a way of helping my team. I didn't think anyone would be interested in it, and I didn't think of other teams when I was doing it. And but then, of course, other people came along and they went, "Well, we've actually got a slightly different use for it. We like what you're doing, but it's not what we want to do. We want to do something else." And so the bot allows for that flexibility that other people go to use it. I mean, it's not the most popular bot out there. Like, I mean, it's 20 servers, but some bots are in the tens of thousands. But because it's a very unique bot in that it is much more complex than your average information bot.
Yeah.
Something that spits out a bit of information. I could do that. Like it's challenging. Like it has its own challenges, but it's much more. It's less complex.
It's perfect for hill climb racing too, and races, isn't it? In general, like it's the ultimate bot for those of us who play this great game of ours, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it definitely does bring a whole new aspect to the game. Like it does allow for a game within a game type of thing. So you've got your team events which are all managed within the game, and then you've got people breaking world records or going long distances and stuff like that. But then it adds another game to that.
Beautiful.
So which is quite cool.
Mate, We got some questions from the listeners that we're going to ask you. Each of us hosts will take one question each and shoot it out to you. But before we get to that, I have one question to ask you myself, and I would love to know, after all the dominance of D's, BG, of course, who's in my opinion one of the best hill climb racing 2 players in Australia. After the dominance of BG and D's winning daily competition after competition, how did it feel to finally get that yellow championship highlighted name all those months ago when you finally won a daily competition, mate?
So I started it. When I started it, I mean, you know, being competitive like I am, I secretly did want to win it the whole time. I was wanting to win it, but then every time
Everyone wants to win it. That's what you're there for.
we had the Polish guys in there, and they were dominating to start with. And then when we, you know, I think part of actually making the bot work in their server was actually to get them out of the AU Daily Challenge server, because, you know, I had no chance with them in there. So they left, and then I was like, okay, now I've got a bit more of a chance. And then I think BG and D's joined at some time around then. So then, of course, that then added to the competition. And then when I did that, there was then the Belgium team joined. They joined, and there are some really good players there.
Yeah, Gecko and E. Just from memory, they were they dominated for quite a bit as well, didn't they?
Yeah, and Blow, I think his name is.
Yes.
Yeah, they were dominating, and so they were really hard to beat. And then,
of course, we had Night GP who won a few competitions as well. He was quite dominant in the competition dailies as well.
Yeah, and then they came along, and so then someone had the idea of doing a thing with no parts, and so we did a 7-day comp, and it was with no parts, and I actually found, like, I think I won 1 or 2 of those early on, and I was thinking, actually, I'm in a chance with this. I think I spent the most gems I've ever done in daily competitions that week in trying to make sure I got a good result. And I think by the end of it, I'd calculated what everyone needed, what position they needed, and I was just making sure I beat them by the end, because I really wanted that gold thing, because, I mean, I'm the server owner, I can put it on myself, but I didn't want it to be put on by me. I wanted the bot to give it to me, and it did.
Well, I think that you know, all of us that do play the dailies always have that chance and dream of winning it. I know our co-host here, Eva, is really close to winning it one day, and I'm sure that will come soon, mate. So now, guys, you want to go through some... Pete, you want to start off with some questions, mate, for Mori, from some of the listeners?
Yeah, sure. So I've got a question from Boulder. It says, Mori, how many servers are running your bot for comps, and what gave you the idea to start it up? Obviously, we've gone through that bit, but how many servers are running your bot?
Well, the true number is, like, it's on 20, but there's probably about 6 or 7 that are running it actively. You can see the results in the main server of the servers that are actually running it. Some run intermittently, like you know, I'm quite proud of some of the servers on. Like, it's on the mono wheel server, which is actually a really good comp. The way that's run by Daspo, you know, that's on there. It's on the the Polish server's still going great guns. I think at their peak they were running at like 120 to 150 players, or it was quite a high number. You know, and to run that daily is quite a lot without something like the bot to help them. And then there's some other ones, like it's on the there's a couple of actually ones that are quite interesting. There's, like, you know, a team that runs it, and they use it for their own, just for fun, but they really enjoy it. And there's which ones? There's a couple of adventure ones. They actually did something really interesting just recently. Is they had the same event running at the same time and had like a server wars, which which was, you know, when I started the bot, there's no way I would have thought of that. Like I wouldn't have thought of that, and they came to me and just sort of said, "Will this work?" And, well, you know, can we do this? And it was like, yeah, actually, there's no reason why not.
Awesome.
So that was actually quite cool.
I heard a rumor that Fingersoft used it once too, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they did in the second GP. So I was saying that earlier about chatting to Valk about it, and I invited them and a couple of other people that were involved in the GP1 onto a server, and I showed them the bot, and I said, look, this is what the daily bot does, and I think I can do some stuff, like modify it. And in the end, actually, I've got some stats somewhere on that. In the end, I modified the code, and I think it was like 2,000 lines of customized code, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it did quite a lot.
It does.
And it handled what was it? I think we had 5,000 entries for the first race, or for
round one. That wasn't it? That was the
round one.
Yeah.
So it actually was 3,300 races for the first, or 2,400 for the first one, and then 1,000. So I mean, that was the start of it. It was actually funny because there were so many people that joined but didn't do anything. I found that unusual. But on the first, so over the whole time, it was 100,000 reads and 40,000 writes that it wrote, reading and writing into the spreadsheet.
Yeah, right.
Which was quite impressive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have a question, mate. Was that all from Boulder's question, Pete? That's all right?
Yeah, that's all good, yeah.
All right. I've got a question from Creepers, mate. What aspect of the game do you enjoy the most, and do you have any inside information about the true mysteries of Mate Bot Bro or Mate Bro Bot?
Well, in terms of, I'll start with the game, or the aspect that I enjoy the most, and I think actually that would be the social aspect. I did actually, I've made some notes myself, and I did write down team events, but I don't think that's what's kept me in as long as I have. Like, you know, things like this are what keep me in, and, you know, when it's all done and dust, or when we've done this first episode, I'll go back and listen to it again as well. But it's that social side of it that's actually been doing, which is what's kept me in the game so long. I don't think I would be in it this long. Like, it's been, what, two and a bit years now? Actually, 2.5 years.
Yeah,
I've been
right.
quite actively involved.
Yeah.
So, and as for Mate Brobot, if you believe Mate Brobot, he made me.
Right.
So,
can you, just for the listeners that don't know who Mate Brobot is, can you just explain further what Mate Bot Bro is?
Well, it actually was a copy of the daily bot, because I was trying to do something for because when the daily bot took off, I was then talking to the guys in the server in Woke, and was saying, well, maybe I can do something that'll make it a little bit of fun, and we can still do stuff, because, you know, we were talking about tracking team events and stuff like that, and how players were going, and after a bit of work, I realised that it was actually not going to work, because you needed everyone active on Discord for it to work.
Yep.
And not everyone is as active as what I am. But then I put I put a fun aspect into it, which occasionally you'll see Mate Brobot say stuff in server, and I think it's actually been really funny.
They'll have full-on conversations with people.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
I have seen that, and that was the funniest thing when I came onto the server and I was looking around. I'm like, what's he doing? And then I saw that there was like a new person had come onto the server and started interacting with Mate Brobot, and sure enough, there was a conversation that went on for about 10 minutes. And it had me in tears of laughter to realise that someone had done that with it.
Oh, it's funny, mate. Well, we'll have to get more on Mate Probot later on. Mo, out you either, mate? Do you have anything for Mori from our listeners?
Okay, so this is from Master T. Who is the best AUSNZ player in each of the fields, adventure, cups, teams, daily, and then lastly, who has the most coins?
Oh, I'd have to say all the answer and above is Master T. Well, just for asking it. But no, I actually don't.
That's a great answer.
I really don't know. I don't, again, like, I don't play the game for that type of thing, so I'm not one for adventure. I've got, rank, 15 or something? I actually don't know. It's, 1.5 million or whatever. So whatever that gets you to. But it's not like I really keep track of it. I'm not one to go after world records. I am surprised when I do have one on a vehicle on a track. So it is always good, but it's not something I chase after. And as for coins and stuff, I've just used them as I've needed them, and same with gems and and scrap. I've just used it as I've needed it to. Well, now I've got my main to max GP, and so that's actually none of it was. I don't really track that sort of stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. Go for it, Alfie. You're up, mate. Oop. You've got yourself on mute there, champion. You want to take your mute off the microphone? There you go.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it, mate.
So my question is from Dreddy. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
That's a fantastic question.
That one actually wasn't much. Didn't have to give it much thought. I just thought of one horse-sized duck would be the one to fight it if it was a fight, because realistically it can only go into certain spaces, and so I could just go into somewhere where it was smaller and it would be stuck outside.
Typical.
Whereas 100 ducks would be so annoying.
Typical Dreddy to ask that question, eh? But anyway, don't worry, mate. Mori, when we get Dreddy on, you can roast him back and get us some revenge.
That's all right. I know where Dreddy stands. He was in the daily server, and he was quite active for a while there, but then he realised he wasn't any competition to me, so he quit.
Oh, he's got to get you back for that one, mate. That's fantastic. Who's up next? Pete, maybe? We're back to Pete. Pete? No, I can't remember.
Have you had one?
I
think I did the first one.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Now you're up, Pete.
All right. So we've got a question from AUSNZ. I'm going to mispronounce this. Nubis. Bob.
You might just need to say that holding a cup of tea. So when you're saying this question, just make sure you're holding a cup of tea. Now, for those that don't know or haven't spoken to him, you'll get the reference when you hear him talk, if ever you hear him talk.
It's funny you should say that,
question is,
because he's going to be coming on very soon.
Yeah, well, make sure you got your cup of
do
tea
you
ready.
like cats?
Well, I actually had a cat when I was a kid, but I'm more of a dog person.
That's a fair answer. Yeah, fair enough.
What was the cat's name?
Kiefer.
Oh, yeah?
Kiefer cat.
Oh,
Interesting.
I had a Kiefer when I was little.
A what?
Kiefer cat.
Almost. Yeah, mine was Kiefer.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was called that. I actually can't remember, but it was a thing that used to drop rats on the door, like these big cat-sized rats. And it used to have huge, like I reckon it was, like massive smile when it did it. And my mum was forever going, "Oh my God, that damn cat."
Speaking of cats,
Well, mine was named that way because it was the letter K, so it was K for cat.
Speaking of cats, one of the features we have on the Discord server is we've got like a pets and animals channel. We've got a lot of social channels as well. You want to talk about the social channels there for a little bit more? Like,
well, they all started because obviously we all joined the server to be because of HRC2 or HCR2, sorry, but it became evident that people wanted to talk about other stuff, and then me being a bit of a bot man, I went off and found which bot would work best and gave everyone the ability to give themselves roles to get access to those channels. And so now we've got, I think it's like 12, maybe 15 social channels where people can talk about all sorts of things from pets to cats or pets to cars to movies to holidays to photography.
The GIF channel is quite popular as well, I have to say.
Yeah, like even a GIF channel. I mean, it was that was actually came about because people were just posting random GIFs on the general channel, and I couldn't keep up with what was going on in that. And I thought, well, I'll just give you a channel that you can do it. And I thought it would be people would get bored of it within minutes, but I actually found myself, every so often I'll sit there and go through it and then go, what one can I add to make it?
Guilty, I'm the same too. I put my hand up. I'm guilty of that. I love that GIF channel as well.
On it daily.
I have to be honest here. The GIF channel was the first channel I ever blocked.
Yeah. Fair enough on that one, mate. Eva, you have a question? You have another question for Mori before time wraps up?
Oh, I think we've done all the questions. I think the big question that everybody wants to know, everybody really, really, really wants to know is, hey, it's been a year since we got the rotator. What's coming next?
Well, there was something posted on the Fingersoft channel announcements, wasn't there? That there's something exciting happening. That looked a bit like a new vehicle.
Yeah, possibly.
From DOS.
Just from extending on what Eva was talking about.
A new skin.
What's that one?
Oh, or a new skin.
Possibly a new skin. Yeah. Just from going from what Eva was saying, the question's from Bear, the one and only, the original Bear. I have to say, is no copycat, no imitation. The original Bear. It's nearly been 1 year since the rotator, so I would say that a new vehicle is due soon. Would you have to agree?
It's going to happen. If it happens, it happens. I'm always excited when new tracks come out because it's always exciting to see how they fit into the, like for me, for the daily competition and how all the vehicles work. That's always exciting for me.
Yeah, it's when a new track comes out. I mean, I was excited for Gloomvale, but to be honest, Gloomvale really hasn't grown on me. To be honest, I haven't really been, I don't really drive that track much. And speaking of Gloomvale, are they going to make a cup for it, or is it just going to be an adventure?
I thought there was.
Yeah, I'm playing it right now.
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah, sorry, there is a cup. Oh yeah.
How often do you play?
Yeah, not very. I don't play that cup very often. That's probably probably never at all.
That's something that I have done. Is since I got my Max GP dailies, the cups and trophies is something I don't bother with much now. My Ks have dropped off. Ks have dropped off a lot. Because I don't need them. I don't need the chests anymore.
Yeah, yes. Well, that's true as well, isn't it? If you don't really need the chests or anything, yeah, it is gonna drop off.
Although I do play it on my alt though.
Yeah.
So my alt's probably getting more Ks than my main.
Got a question from RF, mate. What's your favourite food, Mori?
Oh, it'd have to be like a pasta.
Pasta.
It'd be pasta of some sort.
Ooh.
That's like a bolognese or like
go wrong with pasta.
Bolognese or a lasagna or just some Italian food.
Yep.
The Italian in the group, I've got to ask, are you very specific traditional Italian, or is this, cheese and sauce type stuff? Macaroni.
Oh, no.
Cheese and sauce.
No.
We got to go a bit more authentic than cheese and sauce.
I grew up with pasta in a can. And,
No.
yes, no, that's right. And that's where I actually learnt to start cooking. Because I went,
Pasta in a can.
there has to be something better than this. And then, I'm lucky that I've married someone who's actually a really good cook. And some of the meals I get there, they're amazing. So I'm definitely a foodie now and enjoy a good meal.
And just extending onto the food topic, question from Gumby: is hot dog a tobacco or a sandwich?
Tobacco? You mean taco?
Yeah, I better mute myself and shut myself off now. It's called taco.
Tobacco from taco.
I wasn't reading it correctly. I just had a bit of a nana nap. Sorry about that, listeners.
Are you a reformed smoker or something? And it's on your mind.
It's quite an ex-smoker, I'd have to say. Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
Is a hot dog a taco or a sandwich? That's it. That's better.
Well, a taco's typically a thin type of bread or what do they call them? The hard shell tacos.
Corn chip.
Yeah, the corn chip. Yeah, that's it. Whereas a sandwich is more a bread, so it's like a roll. You would class it as more of a sandwich. So I'd say it's closer to a sandwich. If I had to choose.
Yeah.
That's what I'd call it.
But do you say a sub is a sandwich or a taco? If you only could choose between the two, because he didn't say you could choose a sub.
That's true.
So I'm going to have to go with a sandwich.
Yep. No, that's fair.
I think we've answered the answer, and now we can finish off the podcast because I think we've answered the meaning of life now.
I can get tobacco off my my list now. That's get it out of my head.
I think I'm going to have to make you a tomato sauce for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can put a good recipe into the food channel on Discord there, I suppose.
I will post up some pictures of what I did last night, a couple of nights ago.
Oh, beautiful.
Is it a tomato sauce or is it a tomaco sauce?
Tomato, no cheese. cheese added after, not before.
That's brilliant. Does anyone have any final words or questions for Mori before we sign off?
I've just got one for Eva.
Go on.
Eva is commonly it's mistaken for a girl's name. What made you pick that name?
Well, when I joined HCR originally and then played, every time there was a new vehicle, I'd buy it. So when I went to HCR2, I started doing the same thing. I'd be like, and then teams started and it said you need a name, and I'm like, well, I like every vehicle available. So, originally my name was E.V.A, so Eva, every vehicle available. And I used to play all the cars because I wanted to get good on all of them, not just, rally or, hot rod or whatever. At the time, there was no hot rod. At the time, there was only sports car, and that was really slow. But yeah, I wanted to get good at all the cars. And I think part of the daily server and all the other stuff has kind of pushed that boundary even further, to be honest. And then once team started and I had E.V.A. And I joined Team Cats, I had to put, the team name at the end. You didn't have to, but it was just fun. So I dropped the dots to fit the name Team Cats at the end. and then left it in capitals because I wanted it to show as capitals, not lowercase. And a lot of people, by that stage, like when I joined Team Cats, the guy who introduced me to Tessa, who's now one of the admins on Fingersoft server, Tessa basically started chatting to me on a side note, saying it was great to have another girl on the team and blah, 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 blah. And I stopped there dead and I said, hey, Tessa, I'm a guy. And she goes, she's pissing herself laughing, and she goes, oh, okay. And she goes, wait till you start getting marriage proposals and lots of other stuff.
Quite a few DMs will be popping your way. Oh, geez.
So it's very interesting, but look, I wear it proudly, and I just take it in my stride. It's not that big a deal, you know.
No, it's good.
So how many marriage proposals have you had?
2.
I want to ask Mori one last question. This is kind of a serious question of something that's happened recently, something that I'm still angry about, something that is a little controversial to this podcast, but I want to bring it up anyway because it needs to be said. Mori, can you give us your thoughts on the recent ban with Zeke? Whether it was just, whether it was right, and I think I believe he deserves his account back and everything like that. But talk to us about Zeke and his recent ban.
It was a surprise. I mean, I've been playing Zeke for since I first started, and he was actually part of the dailies as well, and he was one of the first people that I was competing against, and he's been around, and I knew I think he would probably be one of the most highest reported players because of his D ranking, which actually I thought was really funny, and I started to do that.
Yep.
So
what is D ranking?
D ranking is where you deliberately lose cups, and every time you lose a cup, so if you start the cup and then you exit, you lose 180 points. And when you've got 2.5 million, which is what I had, you've got to lose a hell of a lot in order to get down to where I got to, which was like I think I got down to the lowest was like 150k or something.
And just extending on, why would players derank for? What's the purpose for it?
When teams first started, there was a theory that the matching actually worked off your team's overall cup points. So by removing the rank, by lowering your rank, you actually artificially change what your team's rank was. Whether or not that was true was another thing, but enough people believed it that they did it. Also, another thing that it did was when people are playing it and they see someone top scoring, but they happen to have cup points that put them down in the bottom 50, they start going, oh, that's a bit sus, that's not right, they couldn't have been playing that long, how can they have that? Yeah. And I've seen Zeke being reported a few times just for that.
Well,
but in terms of what happened, I mean, I'm not going to comment on what Fingersoft does or doesn't do. They're the ones that manage their own game. Yeah. I just hope that whatever they do it right, and they do it with the right sort of intention and making sure that they are legitimately getting people who are doing something that's breaking their rules. Now, I mean, part of the confusing thing with this is you're never told, and so you don't know what it is you break.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing because I mean, when way back when people didn't know about linked accounts, and some people didn't even know that they were doing the wrong thing. Yeah, right. Also some of the rules. I've heard of things where people have, their kids picked up their phone and all of a sudden now they've actually been banned because of that. So I can see what their intention is. They're trying to make sure they cover themselves from things, but I just hope they do it fairly and
well, it's it was quite for those that don't know, I'm a moderator on the Fair Play server, and it was quite a shock to wake up to the news of Zeke being banned. I just want to go on record and say that I don't believe that it was a just. I believe Zeke to be innocent here. If he has done something wrong, it certainly wasn't intentional. He is probably one of the most fairest players that I've come to know, and for him to dishonour the game like that, like so he's done, I don't believe that to be true at all. I'm firmly on Zeke's side here, and I wish him all the best, and hope that he comes back fighting better in the future. I hope he comes back better. Which
he's very against any form of cheating.
Any form of cheating, he is definitely against. Because I used to go to Zeke for I used to send him some clips and some pictures of other players that I thought that was suspect, and he used to give me his verdict on yes or no, and yeah, he was my go-to man, and to see him getting banned the other week was not only a terrible thing for the community, but it's a terrible thing for the game to happen to such a good player.
Yeah, it is a hard thing for teams as well, because, I mean, unfortunately, one or two people in a team could potentially zero your whole team. And so, I mean, I know in terms of the chiefs within the server and the team leaders within our server, it's something that we're on our toes about quite a lot. If there's even the suspect of someone doing something wrong, it's either we'll get rid of them quickly, or we'll talk to them and say, look, I don't think this is the team for you.
AUSNZ is probably one of the fairest teams in the game, along with some other teams that I know that we're probably up there with one of the most legit teams and communities in the game, I have to say, and I'm bloody proud of that. I am really proud of that.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of teams out there that do strive for the same thing, but it's always hard. It's always challenging when you've got no way of vetting the way people are playing, and you've got no way of, even if you are aware of it, there's no recourse or there's no feedback from the game that says this person is doing something illegal or doing something that's suspect. If there was some flag of that which said, if they just went through the team and went, these are all the people that are flagged, sure enough, we would just go, right, you're going to have to step off the team while you get sorted out. And then, whether that, that caused us a lot of pain in terms of, going out of CC into Division 1, and that's so be it. But that's, I think, what we'd do. But we've got nothing for that. So, we could be the next team that it happens to.
Could happen to anyone, anytime. We've got a good record here at AUSNZ, and we want to keep it that way. And it will definitely stay that way as well, because we've got a good leadership behind our team, and I believe that we will be all right in the future. Nothing's going to happen anytime soon. And I just want to just touch up on that, mate, because that's something that I definitely want to discuss with you guys today. But we'll continue that topic another time, and we'll it's probably time for us to say our goodbyes, and we're coming to the end of the show.
Oh, before we say goodbye, can I announce the next guest?
Absolutely, you can announce the next guest. Go for it, mate.
Well, this person I've been on his team since day dot, I think, since I started teams, and he's been, he was the leader of Woke, and then he went into team AUSNZ as one of the first chiefs, and was up there. And then he, after Cam stepped down to take a break or to step away from AUSNZ, he then stepped up, which is Anubis, or as we effectively call him, Bob. And it's actually not his real name, by the way. He'll tell you what if he decides to tell you what his real name is. But that was actually really funny. But yeah, no, he's been very involved in the game, and I've had many a conversation with him through Discord. So yeah, it'll be a good one to listen to.
We can not wait to get him on the show and have a great discussion with him next week. That's going to be a beauty.
Yeah. I'll be sure to have a cup of tea with me.
Yes, you've got
scones.
a cup of tea and a scone.
I'll bring the scones. Jam and cream, of course.
Any last words, Alfie? Any last words for Mori, mate, before we wrap up?
Basically saying thank you for coming on, and pleasure to have you here.
And for
thank you very much for having us on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, no, and thanks for looking after the young stars there, mate, Mori, because I know that you keep a watch on them and you know, see what they're doing in server, so you do a good job there too, mate.
Yeah, that was just one of the many initiatives of the server, and it's, you know, everyone needs some guidance now and then, and you know, we want the young guys because they're the next ones to run the server, so you know, we want them to be doing their best and, you know, working with the community as well as they can.
Yeah, absolutely correct. So, all right, any last thoughts? That's pretty much it, and I can wrap it up.
Pretty much it.
All
good for me.
Yeah, go for it, Pete.
Should we give people a clue on who's going to be after Anubis?
Oh, that's very interesting. I was gonna. I say that's a great idea, Pete. You wanna go for that, mate?
All right. So the guest after Anubis, or Bob, he is in blue. He's new to the job and loves his music.
He's in blue. So
he's in blue. His role is in blue.
Wow, that's a bit of an interesting clue. He's in blue, loves music. Well, most of us love music, and he's new to the job. Well,
he's new to his job.
Listeners, if you want to take a stab and take a guess at who that is, by all means, go for it. But it will be announced next week. We will not give that away this week. Right. Well, I suppose I can wrap it up here now, guys. Well, listeners, that's all we have time for today. I want to thank my co-host Pete, Alpha, and Eva for coming on the show, or every vehicle available, I have to say, now that I know that. Thanks to our executive producer Muzz, who's offline at the moment, but he will be online soon to give us his wrap on the podcast. He gives us all the information behind the scenes, and Mori, I'm going to ask you to be a producer as well and stay in the server as well and help out with future podcasts if you can do that, mate.
Yeah, I'm always willing to help out. Depends on how much time I've got.
Well, that's obviously true too. A special thank you to the AUSNZ team, the leaders and the chiefs. You guys all know who you are. We'll do some special shout outs later. Thanks to you, of course, Mori, for coming on the show. And lastly, thanks to the listeners for tuning in, because without you guys, there is no show, and we wouldn't be doing this podcast. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. It really means a lot. Looking forward to next week. Nubis, or Nubs, I call him Nubs, as I don't know if anybody else calls him Nubs, but I call him Nubs. Noobs or Nubs coming on the show. Bobby, looking forward to the legend himself. He is going to be joining us. We're looking forward to that. So if you got any questions, guys, get on the Discord server, get into that channel and ask Bob your questions. Specifically ask it directly to him so we can ask him on the show next week. So that would be great. Lastly, our third episode, as Pete mentioned, he's in blue, he's new to the job, loves his music, certain bands as well, but yeah, he's a top bloke too. Also,
Let us know your guesses on the Discord.
Let us know your guesses on the Discord. And he also loves to skateboard here and there as well. That's a very interesting clue. He likes to skateboard, just like Mori is a BMXer. He's a skateboarder. We'll be announcing next week who it is. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks again. Bye for now.
See ya.
All right.